Back, everyone. Jamie Schwartzwald sitting down with United States Congressman who hails from Fort Yukon, Alaska. Congressman, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Jamie, for having me.
You bet. Well, August, we're on this congressional break. How much do you enjoy this time where you can get back to Alaska and see your constituents?
I always love to come back to Alaska in August because in August back east it gets about 95 degrees and the moisture is about 90%. It's like walking through a sauna. So I always love getting back here in August. Although it's real warm out today, I will say, according to the reports, that I like to take credit for something other than some things you may see on television. I got here Saturday night. It had been raining for a week or more, and the sun was out Sunday and out Monday, and it's going to be out Tuesday. So it's really pretty when it's out, and it's warm.
Well, on behalf of my sister, and we took a trip down to Delta Clearwater for fishing Sunday. So
you catch anything?
We did. My nephew caught some nice graylings.
Oh, good show. That's a great little river.
It is. So thanks for the weather. Well, one major issue facing Alaskans in the August 19th primary is a ballot referendum of Alaska Senate Bill 21. A yes vote would repeal the More Alaska Production Act, which replaced the oil producer tax structure known as ACES. As an Alaskan, how do you feel about ballot measure 1?
I am really very supportive of voting no on Proposition 21. I really think that's important. Some people, I know the arguments, I respect everybody has arguments, but we are not getting the oil in the pipeline that we have to have to maintain this state. I am confident that the Senate Bill 21 has worked. It has increased the amount of participation. Just look at the figures, the people that are hired. The slope activity, the potential of more production is much higher. I think we ought to look at that. Now, a lot of people say, oh, we're giving it away to the big oil company. I don't believe that, and I have a right to that belief. I just want us to get more oil in that pipeline, make sure that people still have their permanent dividend check. Schools are being paid for by the oil, and most municipalities get most of their funding from oil industry in this state through the production of oil. And we have to keep that pipeline full, or at least partially full, better than it is now, or they can shut it down. So I'm for voting no on Proposition 1.
What solutions do you see to help stem the rising energy costs for interior Alaskans and all of Alaska? For that
it's not going to be solved by the federal government. It's going to be, if anything, we have to get the federal government out of it. The state should be addressing this. It's not a new issue. We became a state primarily because of the lack of natural gas in the Fairbanks. Bill Sneddon for the Newsminer, when it used to be a real first-class newspaper, it in fact promoted statehood because we wanted to bring gas, and I can't think of the field, but it's not Prudhoe Bay, bring that down here. We knew it was there and put gas in the Fairbanks, and we're still talking about it. We should have it there, and if we don't do the gas, we should at least have electricity, and that's a project. Either one has to be done, or we can't be a growing area within the state. The state will grow to a further extent as it has in Palmer, Wasilla, and Anchorage, and Kenai, because they have natural gas, and we'll be sort of the back end of the bus. And so I'm just saying it's very important that we get energy, and the state has to be more actively involved. This legislature, looks like they're actually on the right track now. The federal government, our big job is to keep the federal government agencies from imposing restrictions so it can't be done. The EPA, Fish and Wildlife federally, I can go on down the line. We can't let them, in fact, stop the project. I was lucky, it was my bill in the House when we passed the Trans-Alaskan Pipeline that would not allow any lawsuits. That's why we were able to build it in 4 years. Passed it in 73, and we ended up, I think, pumping the first oil in 76. That is a very fast, rapid period of time, an 800-mile pipeline with all the pump stations, etc., because they could not, interest groups or anyone else, file a suit on the construction of it. So I'm working on the concept of getting gas to the Fairbanks region and a dam built so that we don't have any type of restriction on the federal government.
You bring up the EPA. Have they overstepped their bounds in regards to the Pebble Mine issue?
Absolutely. I know people don't always agree with me on Pebble Mine. It's not about Pebble Mine. It's never been about Pebble Mine. It's about the state. The state chose that land and put it up for discovery. It was discovered. And under the discovery clause of mining laws of the state of Alaska, your right for exploration, under the right of exploration, if you think you can develop it, you have a right to develop it if the state issues the permits. to have an outside federal agency come in and tell the state they can't do that prior to the issuing of a permit is, as far as I'm concerned, against the state constitution. And I hear all kinds of, all right, we got to worry about the fish. Yes, I worry about the fish. But who has control of the fish? It is the state, as the state has control of its land. And it's up to the state to decide whether it should or should not be done, not the federal government. If we allow this to happen, and apparently it is going to happen, we've lost our state. It can be on any other areas we try to develop resources. It can be on any of the native lands. They could say, oh, you can't do it. And when we promise them 44 million acres of land for the social and economic well-being, there can be an interest groups come out, Trouts Unlimited, come out and say, oh, no, you can't do that because it affects so-and-so and so-and-so. It could be a view shed. It could be a sound shed. All type of different sheds which they can impose a lawsuit on, take away our state. And for those of you who believe in the state of Alaska, you better think about that a while. If you want to become a territory, then let's have a vote and go back to be a territory. I want to be a state.
Well said. Business at hand. You supported legislation that addresses the crisis on our nation's southern border. It passed 222 to 189 and now moves to the U.S. Senate. The rest of the resolution includes nearly $700 million of support of ICE, the National Guard, the Department of Health and Human Services. Why was this legislation needed?
Well, first thing, let me say the president asked for $3.6 billion, actually $4 billion, a blank check, and I wasn't about to give this president a blank check. We didn't know how he's going to spend it, where he's going to, or anything. Just a blank check, and he was going to solve the problems. The Senate, very frankly, didn't do anything and went home. We tried to pass a bill that would make it actually more strict than it is now about someone coming into the United States to seek asylum. You have to actually, under this bill, prove the need for asylum. And the money is for humanitarian purposes for the kids that are here, but there's got to be a way, and this bill will give it to the Homeland Security, not just the Border Patrol, but the Homeland Security, to discourage the continued seeking of asylum in the United States from these young people. They're being told through their governments and through a cartel that they need to, or they can come to the United States and they will be able to stay here and become a citizen. And that's not the way it really is. And so I would like to see some of these young people and go through them, make sure that they're not sick or not hurt or they need immediate care, and send them back, take them back and say this is not true. Where the crime is here, that the mules, the cartels, are going into villages and saying, now if you go to the United States, you can stay. And so get us $7,000. And I think that's about a 10-year wage in Ecuador and Bolivia and those type areas. And they scrape the money, give it to the mule, they get them on a train. Mexico does not stop them as long as they go through. Mexico has a very strict border patrol facing the central countries. And they, in fact, as long as they go through, they let them go on through. And this is what's occurring. The original act, the 1998 act, only allowed children from Mexico and Canada to have asylum and protection, not the rest of them. So as long as they go through Mexico, Mexico's perfectly happy. Our bill is a good bill. Now, consequently, I don't know what's going to happen. The president may try some things, but the issue, the long-term solution to this problem is we have to make getting into the United States legally much easier. Not what I saw just carte blanche, but you know, you think about it. I had a guy on the floor the other day talking about, well, my father came over for da-da-da. Yes, he did. He came over from Ireland, or he came over from Italy, or came over from Bosnia, and they went through Ellis Island, and they were checked. And if they had a clean health bill, they were allowed to come into the United States. Not too much of a problem when you think about it, but now it takes on the average 12 to 19 years to come in the United States legally. Mm-hmm. That causes this illegal problem. And I'm saying make sure they check background check, health check, background check, etc. And if they have a sponsor or they got a trade, let them have a chance of becoming a citizen of the United States. Now, some people say don't do that. And I'm saying, think about it for a moment. There's only really one group of people in the United States that's not immigrants, and that's the American Indians and Alaska Natives. They were here first. And the rest of the people are, and fathers, grandfathers, great-grandfathers, came here for a reason. They built the railroads. They mined the mines in Minnesota. They created the steel that won World War I and II. I mean, this is what we have to accept. We can say, no, we're already here, nobody else can come in. But we have to make sure that they are good citizens. When they come in, will get their citizenship and go forth.
Can I find a question? Alaska has a high population of U.S. military veterans. You yourself are a proud veteran. How crucial is it that we get this problem with the VA solved?
Well, they're very crucial. I will, this is where I get in a little trouble with some of my veterans group. I think overall, Alaska had one of the best VA systems because of Senator Stevens and myself. I keep stressing this. We built clinics. We big operation in a hospital in Anchorage. I was there for the ribbon cutting. We've had clinics across the state that we've done well, and we have access to government clinics now, which they did not have in other states. Every village has a clinic, for instance. They have access to that. The problem we have is not just the secretary, and I will say this, I'm not beating the president up on this. It is the people under them, and the system over a period of time has become stagnant. And we have people within the VA itself that are not held responsible. I'm talking about all the way to the desk clerk. That really, maybe I'm cleaning my fingernail and I got a veteran come in that needs an appointment, and well, I'll get to you when I finish cleaning my fingernails. That person should be reprimanded and actually relieved of the job. We can't do that. So until they get a better attitude across the nation, the veterans are going to, regardless of this bill we just passed, which is a big bill, $17 billion, it's still not quite fine-tuned and how it's going to improve. And I argue that it has to be improved by going from the bottom up and the top. If the top's not functioning, you make sure they're no longer the supervisor, and the lower, if they're not functioning, they're no longer in a position, because we're trying to help the veteran. The veteran that served this country, committed to this country, was obligated to this country, and we obligated service to him, and to not have that kind of service, have a person die because inactivity is dead wrong. And I'm hoping we keep pursuing this. We've got Congressman Miller is very good about this. He's going to be bird dogging this real closely to see how this money is dispersed, is utilized, and hopefully the next veterans that go into the VA are treated, I think, adequately, not only adequately, the best service we can give them.
All right, Congressman, I want to thank you for making time for us.
Thank you.
All right. That's going to wrap it up for us. We are getting